Time is running out. Depending on your perspective, Gabrielle is set to form out in the Atlantic, and record highs and record lows are all possible across the lower 48 over the next couple of days. Got a lot to get into, got a lot of maps to look at, folks. We're going to look at it all coming up right now, but we're going to start here in the tropics with our tropical update. Well, it's Tuesday, September the 2nd. Labor Day weekend is shrinking into the distance, and we are in the home stretch toward the end of the year. Welcome into the channel, folks. Jason is my name. Been tracking weather for over 40 years. Been looking at all the data this morning, and I've got a lot of things to show you. We're burning daylight, literally. We've got record high and record low temperatures right down the street from each other, and that is what lies ahead for our sensible weather over the course of the next few days. But we're going to start right out here in the tropics. I'm glad you're here, folks. And as I said, we've got quite a bit to show you. Now, I'm going to hover over this for a second. This big code red area out here in the Atlantic is now a 70% chance of developing our next tropical system, up from 40% yesterday. I'll have all this text in a crawler going across the bottom of the screen. I'm also going to have a couple of crawlers going across the top. One of those will be a This Day in Weather History, so you can read that, some interesting things. And at the end of the show, I'll wrap up with the answer to the weather IQ question I'm just about to ask you here in a minute. And we're also going to have a couple of historical fun facts. So stick around for all that, folks. Got your September forecast as well. We're going to look at what some of the models are showing. But as I said, starting here in the tropics, got a 70% chance of the next cyclone forming over the next 7 days, 30% chance over the next couple of days as conditions become more favorable out here. And you can see kind of the projected track somewhere off to the west and northwest. It's going to be a slow mover. It's going to potentially get into the islands around day 8 or so from today, and then move up into the Atlantic. We'll see where it might go. There are your temperatures out here. You can see a little bit of a gap right in here where Aaron took, and things are starting to recover out here. But other than that, we've got temperatures in the mid and upper 80s, particularly as you get over here close to the islands and out here into the western Atlantic, folks. Here's what the tropics look like right now. I've got this stalled frontal boundary way off the coast here. It's kind of sitting here with little waves, low pressure moving along it, and some tropical waves down here in the wave train. Here's the one that we're looking at. This is the area of interest, and look at that. It looks fairly okay, right? I mean, it's not the best tropical wave I've ever seen, but it's certainly not the worst. And we've got some convection out here, plenty of moisture in this area. There is dry air up here to the north and kind of working around it, but probably was going to do a good job fighting that dry air off. As we take a look on out here toward Africa, I'll slide this over. You can see several more waves in the wave train, and they're just going to continue into this area for the foreseeable future. So we've got plenty of things to watch, although I'm not all that enthusiastic about lots and lots of tropical activity and the Atlantic overheating with activity, because the background state just isn't all that great. There's some shear. That'll be diminishing a bit over time. Dry air has been a problem all season long. That'll continue to influence the pattern from time to time, and just the background state of generally sinking air that doesn't look to change over the next couple of weeks all that much. So got one lone tropical system that we're worried about, other than potentially some homegrown activity. I'm going to show you the operational GFS. Yesterday it was slamming this thing into New England. Well, let's see where it goes today as we get on out into Saturday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Look at this. It's already carrying it well north into the Atlantic. And I've told you many times on this channel, when tropical systems get into this area, almost always they recurve and go out to sea. Now, is that what the GFS is going to show here? Well, let's just run it on out. We're about 8-9 days out. We get on out to day 10. Look what it does. It curves out to, there it goes, curves it out to sea, just like it's what's expected. And look at this little area. It's come off the coast of the United States, kind of a part of a little stalled frontal boundary, a little wave of low pressure. And look what happens to it. It curves back in toward New England for the same reason that we talked about yesterday. It's going to come down to timing, folks, and position of features, and there's just no way to know that. There's too many variables in the atmosphere, too much chaos going on to be able to accurately nail that down. But what we're going to watch is where any system is as we get on out toward the end of the 2-week period. It's likely, the most likely scenarios, that we've got a tropical cyclone somewhere in this area, in and around Bermuda, out here in the western Atlantic. We've got a blocking ridge building into Canada. Most models show this, and we'll look at that here in a second too. So here's what the GFS is actually showing as we go way on out in time. This is Wednesday of this week, so we're at 36 hours. And as we go on out, you can see there's the little cyclone. It starts to develop pretty quickly on the GFS, and there it comes, there it comes, there it comes across the Atlantic, and it kind of goes north of the islands as we get on in here toward Wednesday and of next week, 198 hours out. Now look where it's going. It's going right near Bermuda, and this other little secondary system's off the coast or working through the southeast, working in, and the primary one goes on out to sea. That would be Gabrielle. And then we've got this big block that forms up here. We looked at this yesterday. You see this big red area in Canada? When you get this big red area in Canada, you're going to have winds kind of flow. The flow is going to be clockwise around it like that. And any system that's kind of out here under the influence of that is going to get deflected back toward the States. And so the first tropical cyclone, Gabrielle, would be already out of the picture by then, by the time this thing blocks in. Yesterday, this was coming in a little faster. And so it's been delayed a little bit, and it's allowed Gabrielle to escape out into the North Atlantic. But this other little system the GFS has, which is not impossible, gets deflected back underneath that block, okay? Saw that same thing with Sandy years ago. Now, I'm not calling for a Sandy. I'm not forecasting that. But these are things that we're going to have to watch as we get out here, because if we have a tropical cyclone in this area around toward the end of the 2-week period, we're going to have to watch how this block develops and see where it goes. But it looks more and more like this thing's going to curve out to the north. But again, this is way out in time. European ensembles show a little bit of a different story here. This is 216 hours or 210 hours out. By the way, that's next Wednesday, the September the 10th. And here is the system right here. It's got it a little bit lower, right? It's approaching the northern islands up here. And so watch what the European does. It's got this blocking ridge, so it's kept everything kind of south. And so the European model, the European ensembles now open the door to let this thing come north. You can't really see the storm system on the map, but it's starting to move north there. You can see it occasionally with the little bubbles that pop up. There's one. This is just a European ensemble at 500 millibars, so it's not a very deep cyclone. That's why you don't see a big reflection of it up here. It kind of keeps it a little bit weak. But see this trough here? Look at this trough. This trough here. These little lines, that's a trough. As long as that trough is along the East Coast, you can kiss any chance of anything coming into the East Coast goodbye. As we get on out of time, the block is slow to move in to eastern Canada. The troughing is still in place along the East Coast. You got plenty of escape route possibility out here. So the European ensemble is not enthusiastic about a U.S. landfall. It doesn't look like that's the most likely case at this point in terms of U.S. landfall. But again, that's way out down the line, folks. A lot to watch here. We're going to keep watching it as far as the actual European ensembles themselves, the members. They continue to be fairly aggressive now with developing this. A lot of members show L's out here. Some of them get, decently strong, get a low in Category 1 hurricane going. Some take it into the islands, and many more take it just north of the islands. And so that's what we have to watch. This is by the 10-day period. So this is 10 days out. We're looking at Friday the 12th. So we've got a lot of time to watch this thing as it crosses. That's what is happening out here. Nobody knows. There's nobody on the planet that knows where this thing is going, whether it's going to develop in terms of a big cyclone, and whether it's going to impact any land at all. The highest impact probabilities in my mind right now are potentially around Bermuda and the northern islands as this thing moves on out 10 days from now. But that's a long time. We've got plenty of time to watch it, and we're going to keep doing it. And I'll keep you informed every day about what I'm seeing. And that's it for now, folks. We're going to get into your weather IQ question and then take a look at a big blast of fall coming in to the northwest, or actually the Midwest is what I meant to say. But we're going to look at that right now. All right, I got kind of a random one for you today, my friends, and here it is. See if you know the answer to this question here. What is the term for lines which connect points of equal wind values on a weather map? Okay, some of these you may have heard of and some of these you may not have, but see if you know the answer to that. Isobars, isotachs, isotherms, or isohypses. If you know the answer, type it down in the comment section. If you don't, wait till the end of the show, and I've got that, a couple of other historical fun facts to reveal to you as well. Right now, we're going to take a look at the weather across the lower 48 over the next couple of days and see what we can expect. Friends, if you haven't done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and turning those notifications on. I put these videos out every day. You'll get notified when I do. Like the content, and certainly leave a comment. All of those things early on in the video help YouTube to push this out to more and more people. We can grow the channel together. But even if you wait till tomorrow, comment. Let me know where you're commenting from. If you have any questions, whatever's on your mind. But most importantly, if there's anything I can pray over, please put it in the comments. Let me know. I want to support you however I can. Weather's important. Certainly want to cover that here, but certainly people are more important than weather. And if there's any way I can support you, I'm happy to do that. Right now, we're going to look at the satellite image. This is actually the water vapor loop, and you can see a couple of things going on here. Look at this. Upper level low, sending the flow right out of Canada in this direction. Got a cold front that is working in. It's going to be moving in this way over the course of the next couple of days, bringing a reinforcing shot behind that. Got another disturbance moving along west to east in the flow, and there's our frontal boundary. It's been plaguing Florida with some rain and hanging up off the coast. Maybe a breeding ground for a little bit of homegrown tropical activity. We'll keep that in mind as we go forward. And there is the monsoonal flow. We've got a tropical system out here in the eastern Pacific that actually may work into the southwest over the next several days into the weekend and bring some tropical moisture to the southern tier. So we're going to keep our eyes on all of that. Big gyre out here in the northwest Pacific as well, folks. That's what's going on your vapor image. Clear as a bell east of the Rockies here on the alerts map, but where you get in trouble is when we get out here into the west. See a few flood watches out here through the evening hours tonight in Southern California. Some of the thunderstorms that develop are going to be kind of tropical in nature, put down a lot of rain, so some street flooding is not out of the question. Look at this. Heat advisories and red flag warnings out here. It's been very hot. It's been very dry. Don't burn anything, but you've got extreme heat warnings through Thursday, heat advisories through Thursday. Going to see temperatures in the upper 90s to around 100 and could break some records here while we set some record lows over here. And so what does that look like? Well, there we go. Through today, we could break some records up in the northeast. These are all the areas that could break records. You can kind of click on these and see. There's Dworshak. What is that? Dworshak. I've never said that word before. Dworshak. Okay, well, that's obviously a city up here, but I've never seen it before. Okay, there is the Omak Airport, and there is Spokane. All right, so that's what we're looking at for today. We can kind of do the same exercise for tomorrow, and then on Thursday, same areas could see record highs. What about record lows? Well, we get on here to Wednesday morning, tomorrow morning, several areas here in the Midwest, including St. Cloud, and over here in oh boy, I'm not even going to say, it'll say Oneida. I can say that word. This other one, Rhinelander. Okay, Rhinelander. There we go. See, we learn on the fly here, folks, sometimes. I don't know all of these cities. I know some of them, but not all of them. And there's some more record lows possible on Thursday morning. So we're going to have some cool weather punching in. There's your air quality, and we'll get on a display where you can actually see it. We've got some wildfire smoke up here in southern Oregon around the cities of Sisters and Brothers and Bend. I know how to say those. And then back over here, back over here in Salt Lake around Phoenix, got some air quality issues there as well. Now, surface map today, there's that frontal boundary I was showing you on the water vapor image. It's pushing in. Could see a couple of strong thunderstorms out ahead of that. Some moderate cape up here in the Midwest. Maybe see a hail or a wind report or two, but general showers and thunderstorms across the Midwest. And also back here with a couple of waves moving in through the, basically southern central plains here, Mississippi Valley, lower Mississippi Valley, Tennessee Valley, and then across Florida back into the monsoonal sections here of the Southwest, and even a couple of showers in the interior northern portions of New England up here today. Tomorrow, that frontal boundary is pushing well south, bringing the cooler air with it. A secondary push behind that. Out ahead of that, could see some showers and thunderstorms back through the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, and even a couple of severe thunderstorms not out of the question. In fact, likely, as temperatures are going to be rapidly cooling with height aloft, could see hail production exceeding 2 inches in diameter around Wichita and Emporia, just to the west of Dodge City. I know those cities too, folks. And could see a wind report or two, maybe even a tornado with some of the longer-lived supercells. And again, showers back out here in the Four Corners area, Florida. You see continuation of showers and thunderstorms. You need the rain down there, and you need the rain up in New England too. Not going to see a lot of it, but could see a little bit as we go through the next couple of days up there. Windy conditions this afternoon will prevail as we head on here. Let's get on our weather bell display. This is weather bell image, folks, and we can see a wind over the next couple of, next several hours this afternoon, mostly down here in the Four Corners region and the southwest around California, Nevada, and places like that. Could see gusts up into the 30s, up here into the 20s, up in the northwest and across the border ahead of that front. We're seeing windy conditions up here too. Not too bad everywhere else. Probability of precipitation of 1/10 of an inch. That's maybe a little bit disruptive at times. 100th of an inch would see bigger probabilities everywhere, but your biggest rainfall is going to be up here in the Midwest and through the Tennessee, essentially the Tennessee Valley around mid-Tennessee. And places in here, Knoxville, Chattanooga, and then back across Florida too, potentially, and then back into California. You could see a few thunderstorms this afternoon. Things shift to the east a little bit tomorrow up around the Great Lakes, and we get back into the Tennessee Valley, lower probabilities of higher rainfall. And back in South Florida, see higher probabilities tick up, and again in Nevada and parts of Arizona could see quite a bit of rainfall tomorrow with some of those thunderstorms, and then just some light rain up here in northern Maine. And then we see a line of showers and thunderstorms ahead of this big low pressure up here in Canada. It's bringing that cold front through, and then that'll extend back from the interior northwest into the upper Ohio Valley and back through the Midwest, as well as that secondary push comes in. Going to see showers and thunderstorms associated with that. South Florida, Central Florida could see some rain in the Four Corners region as well. Those are your rainy spots over the next couple of days where we could see at least 1/10 of an inch of rain. Higher probabilities, of course, are the reds, where you're getting into the 90 and 100% chance of seeing appreciable rain. And then finally, looking at the temperature profile, we're going to be hot here Wednesday afternoon and Thursday too. Generally not too bad across much of the midsection of the country and down to the south, but look at this, big blue and purple areas. That's 10 to 15, as much as potentially 20 degrees below normal in spots as we go through Thursday, folks. We get into Thursday morning, see big push here and another push coming in, while the Northwest stays very hot through Thursday, heats up in Texas, and we start to build that heat along the eastern seaboard. The other day it looked like this was going to blast all the way through, but not so much now. It's going to take its sweet time getting in here and delivering the cool punch, at least to parts of the southeast. Going to be hot through Saturday in the northwest and building heat along the east coast and the southern tier out ahead of this cold front. You can see that cold front showing up really nicely here, pushing in as we go into Saturday, Sunday. Still chilly in the Midwest, Great Lakes area Sunday into Monday, and then finally we start to see that boundary slip in. But out ahead of that, it's going to be hot, it's going to be muggy, temperatures in the 80s and 90s across the south, backing off a little bit as the pattern is really amplified at the start of the period. It starts to de-amplify as we go out in time. The ridge breaks down. That's why we're not getting a big push south of this cold front, and it's going to just slip kind of to the east and hang up. And out in time, we start to see things kind of lock up a little bit in terms of getting back toward more normal type temperatures, except the west is going to stay pretty warm, at least in the near part of the long term. Once we get a little farther out, we might see a little bit of a trough action come in later next week into the west coast. But that's what it looks like over the course of the next few days, folks. Now we're going to take a look at September and see what September has in store and wrap up with the space and geological update. Random piece of good advice for you folks. Go into your medicine cabinet, check it out. Probably got some old medicine there. Throw it away. Did that yesterday, and looking for some medicine, I found it, except it was 2 years out of date. Never know what you're going to find in your medicine cabinet. Check that out. There you go. There's your random good piece of your life tip for today. All right. 6 to 10 day forecast from the National Weather Service. Look at this. The Weather Prediction Center puts this out. Check what we have out here. Below normal temperatures expected for much of the eastern half of the country. West still looks above, and below maybe out here in California, at least near normal, and then southern Florida and over here into Hawaii and Alaska look to be above normal as well. Above normal precipitation expected out west and across the very southern tier into the deep parts of the southeast, above in Alaska, above in Hawaii as well. That's the 6 to 10 day, but look what the European model shows for the month of September. This is the 30-day average, okay? This is temperatures, okay? So we're looking at temperature anomalies. Normal to slightly below in parts of the eastern portion of the country, down here in Florida, and then over here into the Four Corners region, desert southwest, we kind of get a little bit of a mixed signal, but generally average, a little bit hotter through the panhandle of Texas and up across the western plains, out the front range of the Rockies, and across the northern tier. That's what the European is showing in terms of its precipitation anomalies. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's see what the Canadian model is showing for the temperature profile. Well, it looks kind of similar, right? Except for a little bit more warmer anomalies here in the deep south and down here in the lower Mississippi Valley, but certainly below normal in the west, below normal up here in the Great Lakes, and kind of near normal in the east, except for the northeast as well, and then above normal in the northern tier. That's what the Canadian's showing. What about the American climate model? Well, it's quite a bit below normal. As we take a look at the month of September for the eastern half of the country, that would be really, really nice. It would feel really good. That would mean fall fronts are coming in. Probably means drier too, unless we get tropical action, but that's what that shows. And then warm out west, except for maybe parts of the desert southwest into the San Joaquin Valley. It's keeping it cool out there. All right, so what about precipitation? Oh boy, dry as a bone over the eastern half of the country, exception of South Florida, where you guys need the rain. A little bit of a signal for increased rain in the central plains, dry back here in the northern plains, and mixed out here in the west, generally normal, except until you get around Seattle. That's the European forecast. What about the Canadian? It looks very, very similar. Very, very, very dry eastern half of the country, leaving some red anomalies showing up. That's 3 inches below normal. So that's pretty dry. South Florida looking wet. And you don't really find wet anomalies until you get out here along the west coast, western 4th or 5th of the country. And the CFS doesn't show, I didn't see the anomaly for the CFS, but trust me, it's about the same when I look at all the weeks together. Very dry signal out in the east. So we're seeing a cooler than normal, average to cooler than normal signal temperature-wise out east. Much drier than normal across all the model guidance. And we've got ridging in Canada that's going to be forming over the next couple of weeks. That block that I showed you earlier that could affect tropical steering is also going to keep in place kind of a dry pattern, maybe a little bit cooler pattern toward the east as well. We need to get something tropical, not a hurricane, but a tropical wave or something coming into the southeast to bring some rain here. Looks like it's going to be a fairly dry month as we go on out through the course of September. And we're already seeing dry conditions develop. We'll monitor that as we go forward. But that's your September outlook, folks. Now we're going to check space weather and see what's going on there. But before we do, check this out. What in the world is this? Well, that is the time that is running out on you as we go over the next month, folks. We're losing about 100 minutes across the border down to 40 minutes across the southern border and various amounts in between. The sun angle is getting lower and lower and lower. That means a couple of things. It means that we're losing daylight, we're gaining nighttime hours. So net, we're still 24-hour day, but we're burning daylight big time and losing time on the front end. But it also means that as we get deeper into fall, these air masses that come in are going to have these cooler air masses are going to have a little more staying power as the sun angle will go down and down and down. A little harder to heat those up. That's what's going on as we go on out through the month. Now we're going to take a look at space weather and geological weather and see what's going on there. There you have it, folks. We have had a geomagnetic storm impact the Earth, and it got all the way up to geomagnetic storm condition level 2. Okay, so 2 is moderate. We haven't approached 3. We only have 2 areas here on the KP that showed geomagnetic storm conditions at all, and those were fairly contained. The speed was fairly high for the plasma stream that hit the magnetosphere. However, the density was low. When you have low density, you tend to see a little bit less of an effect in terms of the disruption to our magnetosphere, which is good. Probably saw some aurora last night. If you did, let me know. Got a coronal hole turning in here. You can see the sun here, and there's that kind of coronal hole, transequatorial. It runs up and down. It's that dark area. Increased or enhanced solar wind comes out of these, and probably is going to be our next space weather type of an issue that we have. But everything else, no more flares or anything like that. There's our sunspot group. And a few more sunspots turning toward us. There's one here that's not labeled, but you can see those turning toward us. We'll watch those. Aurora for tonight, potentially aurora production as we see some reverberation effects, and maybe we'll see an aurora here across the northern border. If you do, let me know. Sympathetic geological activity, well, nothing else going on so far, just the same 3 volcanoes we've been watching in the Ring of Fire, and there's the earthquake update. Nothing else since the big 6.0 in Afghanistan. Seen some aftershocks there, but a bit bad situation over there. Kodiak region up here in the Aleutians has had several earthquakes over the past few days. Been watching this happen, so I don't know if that portends anything, but we'll keep our eyes on it. And there's your moon phases. We're at a 71.8% waxing gibbous on our way to a full blood corn moon, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a blood moon because it's going to be a lunar eclipse, but it's going to be a corn moon on September the 7th. That is in a few short days away. There's a different way to look at day and night in terms of the timeline. We're chopping daylight. We're losing it on the front end. We're losing it on the back end. To the tune of 1 to 3 minutes per day, depending on where you are in the United States. September is the month where we lose the most daylight. Did you know that? Well, it is true. It increases and accelerates as we get on in toward the equinox. And speaking of the equinox, countdown to fall is on. There it is. 20 days meteorological fall started September the 1st. Calendar fall starts September the 22nd. There you have it, folks. And I guess I have to answer the weather IQ question. Don't want to leave you hanging all day, but here we go. What is the term for lines which connect points of equal wind values on a weather map? Isobars, isotachs, isotherms, isohypses, and the correct answer always to this question is isotachs. Isotachs measure the or connect equal points of wind speed on a map. Someday I will show you a map of wind speed with isotachs so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But if you've seen those surface maps that has the high pressure with the little circles around it, those are isobars. Isotachs would look very, very similar to that. That's what you have it, folks, in terms of your isotach answer. There you go. So now, a couple of other quick things to let you in on that you may not know that I thought were interesting that happened today in various points in history. First, the closest one, 1969, the first ATM in the United States was installed up and a chemical bank, that's the name of the bank, Chemical Bank branch in Rockville Center, New York, ushering in a new era of banking convenience. Sometimes we don't even need to go to the ATM anymore, the way everybody makes change in the grocery store for us, if we need even cash at all. But that was a transformative event that happened in 1969. Also, this day in history, in 1945, Japan officially surrendered, ending World War II aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. That happened in 1945 on September the 2nd. And one last thing that happened on September the 2nd, way back in 1966. Actually, let's try 3 centuries before that, in 1666. If I could read, I'd get us out of here quicker. 1666, the Great Fire of London began. Massive fire broke out in a baker's shop on Pudding Lane. How about that? That sounds like a London town, doesn't it? I'd like to go to Pudding Lane someday. Pudding Lane in London. Over 4 days, it destroyed roughly 13,000 homes, including St. Paul's Cathedral, much of the city. Get all the way through the show and can't read and can't talk at the very end. Just the way it goes. Anyway, folks, hope you've had a good morning, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. And I will be back tomorrow with another episode of Cold Rain's Weather World. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Take care, everybody.